You think you can't focus, you think you're lazy, inconsistent, maybe even broken. But what if none of that is true, and your brain is just stuck in survival mode? If you've ever wondered why you can't focus, why your mind keeps jumping, or why even simple tasks feel overwhelming, here's the truth most people don't tell you. In many cases, ADHD is not just about attention. It's about what your brain had to adapt to. There's growing evidence that what we call ADHD today can sometimes be deeply connected to early experiences, especially environments where you didn't feel safe, seen, or understood. So no, this isn't just about distraction. It's about a brain that learned to stay alert, a brain that never fully relaxed, a brain that had to survive before it could ever focus. And in this video, we're going to break that down step by step, not in a clinical way, but in a way that might finally make you understand yourself. Because once you see it clearly, you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking a much better question. One, you thought you couldn't focus. You probably didn't start with the word trauma. You started with something much simpler. I can't focus. Maybe you sit down to do something, and within minutes, your mind drifts. You open your phone without thinking. You reread the same sentence 5 times, and nothing sticks. And after a while, you don't just feel distracted. You start labeling yourself lazy, undisciplined, inconsistent. You watch other people stay focused for hours, and it makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. But here's what most people miss. What if the problem isn't that you can't focus, but that your brain never learned when it was safe to? Because focus isn't just about effort, it's about safety. A brain that feels unsafe will always choose awareness over attention. So before you call yourself distracted, you might want to ask, distracted from what? 2, your brain never learned to feel safe. For a lot of people, focus problems don't start in school. They start much earlier, in environments that felt unpredictable. Maybe it wasn't obvious, no dramatic event, no clear trauma, but there was tension, unspoken pressure, moments where you had to read the room instead of just being a kid. You learned to notice small changes, tone shifts, facial expressions, silence, not because you wanted to, but because it helped you stay out of trouble. And over time, that ability didn't go away. It became your default. Your brain got really good at scanning, at anticipating, at staying one step ahead of something you couldn't always explain. So when you try to focus now, your brain doesn't fully settle. It keeps checking, keeps monitoring, keeps asking, is everything okay? You can't build deep focus on top of a nervous system that still expects disruption. And that's why it feels so hard, even when nothing is actually wrong. 3, you're not distracted, you're scanning. What if you're not actually distracted, just paying attention to the wrong things? Think about it. You sit down to work, but your mind keeps jumping. A small sound pulls you away. A notification feels urgent. Even your own thoughts start competing for attention. It looks like distraction, but underneath, it's something else. Your brain isn't losing focus. It's searching for signals, signals of change, signals of risk, signals that something might go wrong. That's what it learned to do. So instead of locking into one task, your attention keeps scanning the environment and your own mind. That's why it feels impossible to stay still sometimes, like your body needs to move, like your thoughts won't slow down. What we call poor focus is often just misdirected attention, trained by years of being on alert. You're not unfocused, you're just focused on survival. 4. Why it got worse as you grew up. At some point, things start to feel harder, not easier. When you were younger, you could still get by. Deadlines were simpler, expectations were lower, and somehow you managed. But as you grew up, everything changed. More responsibility, more pressure, more decisions that actually matter. And suddenly, the same brain that once worked fine starts falling behind. You miss small details. You procrastinate even when you care. You feel overwhelmed by things that seem simple to others. And that's when the real damage begins. Not in your focus, but in how you see yourself. Because now it's not just, I'm distracted. It becomes, I'm unreliable. I can't handle life. Something is wrong with me. The problem didn't get worse. The demands did. And your brain never got the conditions it needed to adapt. So it's not that you're failing now, it's that you were coping before without even realizing it. 5. The real reason you feel broken. At some point, it stops being about focus. It becomes about identity. You don't just think, I'm distracted. You start thinking, this is who I am. You compare yourself to people who seem consistent. People who can plan, follow through, stay calm under pressure. And the gap feels personal, like you're missing something they have. So you push harder, try to be more disciplined, force yourself to fix it. But it never fully works, and that's the part no one explains. You're trying to solve a nervous system problem with willpower. So every time it doesn't work, you don't question the method, you question yourself. That feeling of being broken isn't coming from failure. It's coming from repeated self-blame without understanding the cause. You were never taught what was actually happening. So of course you thought it was you. 6. Healing starts with one shift. So what do you actually do with all of this? Not try harder, not force more discipline. The shift is much simpler, but also harder to accept. You stop treating yourself like a problem to fix and start seeing your patterns as something your brain learned. Because if your brain adapted once, it can adapt again, but not through pressure, through safety. That means small things first. Letting your body slow down without guilt. Creating moments where nothing is expected from you. Learning what calm actually feels like. Instead of constantly chasing focus. It also means getting support when you can. Therapy, structure, even just understanding yourself better. Focus isn't built by forcing attention. It's built by reducing the need to stay on guard. And over time, when your brain feels safe enough, it doesn't have to scan everything anymore. It can finally stay. So if you've been telling yourself that you're lazy, that you just need more discipline, or that something is wrong with you, maybe it's time to look at it differently. Because what looks like distraction might actually be a brain that learned to stay alert. What feels like inconsistency might be a nervous system that never fully relaxed. And what you've been calling broken might just be a pattern that made sense. At some point in your life, you weren't trying to fail, you were trying to adapt. And once you understand that, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself all the time. You start working with your brain instead of against it. And that's where real change begins. If this felt a little too familiar, you're not the only one. A lot of people go through years thinking something is wrong with them, when in reality, they were just never given the right explanation. So if this video helped you see yourself a bit more clearly, consider subscribing, because this channel isn't about fixing you. It's about understanding how your mind actually works. And in the next videos, we're going deeper into this. Why overthinking never stops. Why you feel drained around people, and how your nervous system shapes the way you experience everything. You don't have to figure it all out at once. Just start by understanding one piece at a time.